Pumping that oil, cutting down those trees, and catching those fish may benefit the elite by bringing them money or prestige, and yet be bad for society as a whole, including the children of the elite, in the long run. Diamond went on, Mayan kings were consumed by immediate concerns for their prestige, in brackets, requiring more and bigger temples, end brackets, and their success in the next war, in brackets, requiring more followers, end brackets, rather than for the happiness of commoners or of the next generation. Those people with the greatest power to make decisions in our own society today regularly make money from activities that may be bad for society as a whole and for their own children. Those decision-makers include Enron executives, many land developers, and advocates of tax cuts for the rich. It was no different on Easter Island. The inhabitants, when they first settled the 64-square-mile island during the 5th century, found abundant fresh water and woods filled with the Chilean wine palm, a tree that can reach the size of an oak. Seafood, including fish, seals, porpoises, and turtles, and nesting seabirds, were plentiful. Easter Island society, which split into elaborate caste system of nobles, priests, and commoners, had within 5 or 6 centuries swelled to some 10,000 people. The natural resources were devoured and began to disappear. A quote, forest clearance for the growing of crops would have led to the population increase, but also to soil erosion and decline of soil fertility, end quote. Paul Barn and John Flenley write in Easter Island, Earth Island, quote, progressively more land would have had to be cleared. Trees and shrubs would also be cut down for canoe building, firewood, house construction, and for the timbers and ropes needed in the movement and erection of statues. Palm fruits would be eaten, thus reducing regeneration of the palm. Rats introduced for food could have fed on the palm fruits, multiplied rapidly, and completely prevented palm regeneration. The overpopulation of prolific seabird resources would have eliminated these for all but the offshore islets. Rats could have helped in this process by eating eggs. The abundant food provided by fishing seabirds and rats would have encouraged rapid initial human population growth. Unrestrained human population increase would later put pressure on availability of land, leading to disputes and eventually warfare. Non-availability of timber and rope would make it pointless to carve further statues. A disillusionment with the efficacy of the state religion in providing the wants of the people could lead to the abandonment of this cult. Inadequate canoes would restrict fishing to the inshore waters, leading to further decline in protein supplies. The result could have been general famine, warfare, and the collapse of the whole economy, leading to a marked population decline. End quote. Clans in the later part of Easter Island civilization competed to honor their ancestors by constructing larger and larger hewn stone images, which demanded the last remnants of the timber, rope, and manpower on the island. By the year 1400 the woods were gone. The soil had eroded and washed into the sea. The islanders began to fight over old timbers and were reduced to eating their dogs and soon all the nesting birds. The desperate islanders developed a belief system that posited that the erected stone gods, the moai, would come to life and save them from disaster. This last retreat into the magic characterizes all societies that fall into terminal decline. It is a frantic response to loss of control as well as despair and powerlessness. This desperate retreat into magic led to the Cherokee ghost dance, the doomed Tacay-Oncay revolt against the Spanish invaders in Peru, and the Aztec prophecies of the 1530s. Civilizations in the last moment embrace a total severance from reality, a reality that becomes too bleak to be absorbed. The modern belief by evangelical Christians in the rapture, which does not exist in biblical literature, is no less fantastic, one that at once allows for the denial of global warming and of evolution and the absurd idea that the righteous will all be saved, floating naked into the heaven at the end of time. The faith that science and technology, which are morally neutral and serve human ambitions, will make the world whole again, is no less delusional. We offer up our magical thinking in secular as well as religious form. We think we have somehow escaped from the foibles of the past. We are certain that we are wiser and greater than those who went before us. We trust naively in the inevitability of our own salvation. And those who cater to this false hope, especially as things deteriorate, receive our adulation and praise. We in the United States, only 5% of the world's population, are outraged if anyone tries to tell us we don't have a divine right to levels of consumption that squander 25% of the world's energy. President Jimmy Carter, when he suggested that such consumption was probably not beneficial, became a figure of national ridicule. The worse it gets, the more we demand illusionary Ronald Reagan happy talk. Those willing to cater to fantasy and self-delusion are, because they make us politically passive, lavishly funded and promoted by corporate and oligarchic forces. And by the very end we are joyfully led over the cliffs by simpletons and lunatics, many of whom appear to be lining up for the Republican presidential nomination. Quote, "Are the events of 300 years ago on a small remote island of any significance to the world at large?" End quote. Barn and Flanley ask. Quote, "We believe they are. We consider that Easter Island was a microcosm which provides a model for the whole planet. Like the Earth, Easter Island was an isolated system. The people there believed that they were the only survivors on Earth, all other land having sunk beneath the sea. They carried out for us the experiment of permitting unrestricted population growth, profligate use of resources, destruction of their environment, and boundless confidence in their religion to take care of the future. The result was an ecological disaster leading to a population crash. Do we have to repeat the experiment on this grand scale? Do we have to be as cynical as Henry Ford and say history is bunk? Would it not be more sensible to learn the lesson of Easter Island history and apply it to the Earth Island on which we live?" End quote. Human beings seemed cursed to repeat these cycles of exploitation and collapse, and the greater the extent of the deterioration, the less they are able to comprehend what is happening around them. The earth is littered with the physical remains of human folly and human hubris. We seem condemned as a species to drive ourselves and our societies toward extinction, although the moment appears to be the denouement of the whole sad show of settled, civilized life that began some 5,000 years ago. There is nothing left on the planet to seize. We are now spending down the last remnants of our natural capital, including our forests, fossil fuels, air and water. This time when we go down it will be global. There are no new lands to pillage, no new peoples to exploit. Technology, which has obliterated the constraints of time and space, has turned our global village into a global death trap. The fate of Easter Island will be writ large across the broad expanse of planet Earth. Chris Hedges is a weekly Truth Dig columnist and a fellow at the Nation Institute. His newest book is Death and the Liberal Class and The World as It Is, Dispatches on the Myth of Human Progress. To keep up with Chris Hedges' latest columns, interviews, tour dates, and more, go to truthdig.com/Chris Hedges. Thanks for listening. In this one, I didn't mention veganism, but as you know, there are many ancillary benefits to being vegan. The most important one, of course, is that we should refuse to eat, wear, and use animals because it's morally unjustifiable. That's the most important reason to be vegan, and there are ancillary benefits of health and environment. There's so many, it's too many to list, and this is all relevant. I ask you to go vegan. It's very easy, it's better for us, for the planet, and most importantly, it's the morally right thing to do. Till next time, bye for now.